Okay, I think it's just about time to get started. Everyone's all settled in.
Hooray.
Yay! We're here for a Song of Ice and Sorting. Thank you all for joining us on this Saturday morning when you could be sleeping, but you're here because you love Harry Potter and Game of Thrones and Song of Ice and Fire that much. It's a fun crossover. I think we're going to have a lot of fun, hopefully getting loud and argumentative over something not at all arbitrary.
That's going to be the name of my autobiography, by the way. I could be sleeping, but I love Harry Potter.
And this is extremely serious business, Sue. The opposite of arbitrary.
Okay, so I thought we could start off. We should probably introduce ourselves.
On the line.
And we do have a little surprise guest down there, too. So we'll just introduce ourselves. I'm Sue the Fury. I'm the editor-in-chief of Watchers on the Wall.
I'm Melissa Anelli. I'm the CEO of Mischief Management, and I run a website called The Leaky Cauldron, and I wrote a book about Harry Potter called Harry: A History, so I'm super ready.
My name is Brad Ausrotas. I work for Mischief as well. I do programming for Con of Thrones and also LeakyCon.
I'm Petra Halbur. I'm a writer for Watchers on the Wall.
I'm Lindsey Romain. I'm a writer across the board. I write a lot about Harry Potter and Game of Thrones, so I'm ready.
I'm Aimee Richardson. I was Marcella in Game of Thrones, and I am a big geek for Harry Potter. So,
so we're very happy to have her. And I guess before we get started, I just want to give a shout out to, I actually got this idea for the panel for someone who couldn't be here this year, for Fat Pink Mast on Twitter. Last fall, I was watching her just argue with someone about who someone would be. Unfortunately, I can't remember now. They were arguing with someone about which character on Game of Thrones would be in a house in Hogwarts. And I was just like, that's so random. And they were just going back and forth for like days. And I was just like, yeah, let's do that. Let's do that. So yeah, I was super into it, and I wish she could be here, but she couldn't make it this year. So, and you should follow her on Twitter because having an account dedicated to Fat Pink Mast is pretty brilliant. So, Fat Pink Mast, that's her Twitter name. So, which I won't explain for reasons.
Either you get it or you don't.
Little ears,
little ears. We're all gonna watch our mouths.
But yeah, so we can go ahead and get started here. So
Should we go down the line and say our houses first, maybe?
That's
Pre-declare
awesome.
our biases?
Or
Yes.
Game of
Both.
Thrones?
I think both.
All right. I am a Gryffindor. I'm a Thunderbird, and I'm a Tully.
I am a Slytherin, a Horned Serpent, and I go for House Martell.
Hold on, we got it back to Sue.
Yep.
That's okay. So when it comes to Game of Thrones, primarily House Baratheon. And when it comes, I am proud Slytherin.
Woo.
What's your Ilver morning?
I honestly can't remember. I haven't logged into Pottermore in like 3 years because I keep forgetting my password because they won't let you reset it. And it's like a long string of like random numbers. And
I think you're a Horned Serpent.
Yes, I am.
Yeah.
Yes, I am.
Nice.
How do you know that?
Telling you, I'm really good at this.
You're right.
Which Baratheon? Who would you have gone with?
I think ultimately. Okay, of the ones who got to sit thrones, Stannis, but clearly, Marcella was the smartest. That's like canon. They said Marcella was the best of the children, and that's canon. I'm not just saying that.
Completely indisputable.
Completely indisputable. I'm just saying.
All right, Patrick.
I'm a Hufflepuff. Thank you.
Okay.
That's such a Hufflepuff reaction.
And I'm a Greyjoy. So figure that one out.
All right.
And I don't know Ilvermorny. I think I may have been Horned Serpent, but I genuinely don't know what that even means.
I'm a Gryffindor and a Tully also.
Yeah.
So,
Thunderbird?
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Most of the Gryffindors ends up Thunderbirds, it's true.
Yeah.
Nice. Rarest of all houses.
I'm a Ravenclaw. Hey. And I don't know what that what the Ilvermorny one is. I never.
It's complicated.
I know it's the American one, but I never did that test.
Blind, wild guess.
I don't know the name. What?
My wild guess for you is Puckwudgie, but I have not enough information to
Puckwudgie?
base. Yeah.
Puckwudgie.
That sounds like an insult.
No. It's not.
You're such a puckwudgie. And housewise, I don't know, man. I'm probably a Lannister. In like a nice way, though. In a Marcella way.
Yeah, it was kind of a foregone conclusion, wasn't it? Yeah. Okay, I wanted to start off. I mean, we're all going to jump in with our own thoughts and hopefully get all of some of your suggestions too about who we want to sort. But I kind of wanted to start with one of my favorite argumentative cases. I have, as far as people to sort, my personal. I brought this up on Twitter.
Nope.
I did. I know. She's already like, no, you're wrong. She's ready to tell me why I'm wrong. My own personal theory is that Jaime Lannister is a Hufflepuff. So I'll give you a couple bullet points as to why, and then she'll tell you why she's convinced I'm wrong, and we'll take it from there, because I know that's like a hot take. So here's the thing. I know people are like, oh, he did bad things, and he's brave, so he's either Slytherin or he's Gryffindor, and there's various reasons. But I feel like everything he has done in his life has been based out of his dedication and his loyalty towards his sister and his family, and out of this sense of fairness, because, I mean, even killing Eris was this strong sense of trying to do what was right and fair. There was no ambition, and there was no cunning. And it wasn't even necessarily that brave. It was just trying to do, oh my God, he's going to kill the entire city. I need to stop this right now. He was trying to do the right thing. So, and all of even joining the Kingsguard, that was just a sense of trying to stay nearest to the person he loved. So, and yes, he has done awful things, but there are awful people in every house. So I try to stay away from just automatically dumping someone in Slytherin, because I'm Slytherin, so I'm kind of used to people being like, So that's my general take on it. But we've talked about it before, so Melissa can share her reasons why I'm totally wrong.
Totally wrong. So Hufflepuffs aren't the only people who have loyalty. Hufflepuffs are loyal to people. Gryffindors are loyal to causes. Slytherins are loyal to themselves. And Ravenclaws are loyal to learning. Having loyalty doesn't make you a Hufflepuff. What makes you a Hufflepuff is what your primary, if your primary characteristic is loyalty. If your primary characteristic is bravery, you are a Gryffindor. Jaime, I don't say he's a Slytherin because he's done bad things. I think he's a Slytherin who may be turning into a Gryffindor, but that's a whole other conversation. It's not because he's done bad things. It's because it is in search of his goal, which for a very long time was staying close to his sister. Yes, it was brave to kill Eris, but that doesn't make him brave. He could have been brave years before that moment. In that moment, he had some sort of awakening. He realized that the right thing to do for himself was to do what ended up being the right thing. In other times, it's throwing a child out of a window so that he gets to keep screwing his sister. That's a Slytherin move because it's to himself. It's to what he most wants and the goal that he most wants. I think he might be having Gryffindor leanings right now. So that's where I am with Jaime.
Yeah, I mean, as far as the child thing, for me, the whole pushing Bran out the window, I mean, that's a major event. That's our first major impression of him, because at first he's just a guy in a courtyard. We don't really kind of notice him. But going out the window, his motivation there is, I need to do something right now to deal with the fact that my sisters and her children's lives will essentially be over if this comes out. I mean, that's his gut reaction. So it's not a smart move. And I don't even see it as like brave, because I mean the brave thing would be to just suck it up or run away with her or something. But that's why I see it as him, and he doesn't love the kids that much, it seems like, unfortunately. No. So I think it's this dedication to his sister and wanting to keep her happy and alive. So that's why I again still saw it as his twisted Hufflepuff. I don't, it's not healthy, but he's the most twisted Hufflepuff I've ever seen. That's how I see it.
The thing about Hufflepuffs, though, is that their loyalty is tempered with kindness. I cannot imagine a single Hufflepuff thinking, to be loyal right now, I have to kill this child, like in this moment. There are other things he could have done, and a Hufflepuff would have thought about those things and gone about it with kindness. And whereas it was, I hate to even say this, it was almost sort of Gryffindor because it was stupid. It was super stupid. It was just like, just rush into the moment, Yep. But that loyalty is there, but it's really his own aims because he's screwing it, because it's his own life too, right? It's his own life and his own name and his own everything. I just can't imagine a Hufflepuff throwing a kid out a window.
No,
Shoot me.
Honestly, what does it for me is that really, I think the way that Jaime views his sister is as an extension of himself, right? There's so much physical similarity to them. We get a lot of passages in the books where he describes his kids. They were almost interchangeable. So I think that it's difficult to play it off as being loyal because, again, when, especially with Hufflepuffs, you're loyal to people, right? It's, you're not biased against any particular group. You're willing to put the work in if there's work to be done, regardless of your own preconceived notions about said work. In Jaime's case, I think it all comes down to Cersei is an extension of himself, and so it's a protection of his own status and just his own desires.
What do we think the rest of the panel feels on this?
I had never considered him as a Hufflepuff, but the idea of the loyalty to different things, that everyone's loyal, but it's just a matter of who you're loyal to or what you're loyal to is interesting because, fundamentally, it is always... he's not a self-serving person. It's always in conjunction with his family, it seems. I never thought I'd actually put him in Hufflepuff, but I think that's what I'm doing. It feels weird.
It feels weird, but it feels right?
He's such a quintessential Slytherin, though. Sorry, again.
No. Sorry. Keep going.
I'll ruminate on this.
Yeah. I think I have to go with Slytherin also because, as you said, like the family is a unit. And because they're all so similar, it feels selfishly motivated still. So.
I say he might be turning
with sufficient cause.
With sufficient cause, he might be turning a little Gryffindor, but Slytherin and Gryffindor are like they're so close.
Hairs apart.
Reasoning.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'd never thought of a Hufflepuff deal with him. I'm being a real Ravenclaw right now with my words. I quite like that. I quite like that idea. But then at the same time, like he's a Slytherin, isn't he? He is. But I like the Hufflepuff idea.
Yeah.
It's just another way of looking at it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I can totally see both arguments, but
If he was more loyal to the rest of his family, then I think it would be a lot more of a strong argument, right? He's only slightly loyal to Tyrion, but he absolutely turned on Tywin, right?
He did sort of set Tyrion free,
Yes.
so there's some loyalty there. Yeah.
Yes, his family, though, right? Which the house as a whole would be arguably... Yes, so the overall status of your house is what is going to control your whatever political status within Westeros, right? And so deliberately turning against his family, joining the Kingsguard, was to spite his father, and ultimately he's looking after his own selfish desires rather than what's best for his family as a whole.
Yeah.
I personally see Jaime as either like a Tonks Hufflepuff, a Tonks type Hufflepuff, or a Neville Gryffindor. Because Neville is also fiercely loyal to everybody in his house and every one of his friends, but he also has his own courage. But
Neville is... I don't have reason to doubt that Neville's loyal, but we don't ever really get to question it in the books. We just sort of assume. So I don't know. I don't know if loyalty is a primary characteristic of Neville. He just may be really devoted to what's right.
well, loyalty to what's right is still loyalty.
Then everybody's a Hufflepuff. Sorry, you've had your hand.
Sorry.
No, don't mind.
I don't know how you feel about this on a personal level, but then when you argue if he is so much a Hufflepuff and also so much a Slytherin, would he be a Slytherpuff? if you're prone to that Twitter canon of Jake.
He could be a hat stall. He could be like Slytherin that was almost a Hufflepuff, or the other way around.
Yeah, I'm one of those sort of Slytherin all or nothing. I'm like, the no Slitherpuffs. Like,
I will have you know that once J.K. Rowling said to me, and I asked her, can anybody be, this both thing? She goes, no, you're one or you're nothing. You're one. And then now she's gone and changed that. So I feel
Perhaps it was a
Office
little
prerogative.
short-sighted, her initial impression.
If Jamie was loyal just in terms of family, like has been brought up a few times, would he then have abandoned Cersei this last season?
I mean, I think that...
As a Slytherin, wouldn't he have stayed with her to the bitter end because that's what he selfishly wants us to be with her? But instead, as a Hufflepuff, his loyalty is to his country, which is why he killed the Mad King, which is,
But maybe his desires are changing.
I think his, yeah.
trying to serve himself, and now he sees that Cersei is going to be the downfall
Yep.
of him.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And now he's still like, oh, I'm going to go towards the winning side. That happens to be
100%.
death in the north, but at least it's on the good side.
As soon as his desires changed, Cersei got dropped like a hot potato. That was it. Done. See you later.
Out the window because Cersei might have done something worse to him.
Worse than throwing him out the window.
You never know.
She's pretty creative.
She's pretty creative. There is the nun.
Yeah, the
So you had your hand up for a while there.
The only two houses I definitely don't see him in are Ravenclaw and Slytherin, based on the sense that Slytherins are known to be cunning. Jamie's not.
He's not. No, he's not.
And Jamie's not really ambitious.
You're right, he's not really ambitious.
So I feel like, and he's just not smart enough to be Ravenclaw. We all agree with that.
Yeah. Universal agreement.
He's had cunning moments, especially with Brienne. The sapphires thing, like he's got some cunning.
Even some of his interactions with Ned.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he's more known for his bravado. So I would say, like, I personally would put him more towards Gryffindor or Hufflepuff. Because he makes a lot of brash decisions. And I feel like Gryffindors do that more than calculated decisions like Tyrion would do.
I'm considering the Gryffindor now.
Yeah, there's always something. And I think on this show, it's funny. There was like one, I just think it's hilarious that there was that one moment where he's like, I'm super smart. I learned from my mistakes and I caught out Highgarden on the show. And of course, Elena gets the final mic drop and is like, by the way. So even his smartest moment, it's like, psych.
Just kidding.
I sort of feel resistance against putting any of the Lannisters in Gryffindor simply because their sigils are so similar.
Yeah.
It feels
Too on point.
Exactly.
I think
too close.
it's almost like it's a caricature that they sort of feel they have to adhere to, right? Like Jaime's bravado seems to me almost like a front that he puts on in order to deal with people, right? Like he has this reputation that obviously precedes him everywhere he goes, and so whenever he's interacting with anybody, it's always being judged on these preconceived notions, and so he just leans into what his family is supposed to be, I think, based on his own interpretations.
Okay, we'll take one more, and then we're going to jump to another character to keep it rolling. I know. Damn, Jamie. Okay. You.
His Aunt Jenna has a really interesting take on himself and Tyrion. And if you look at her description of Jamie, it's very Hufflepuff.
Yeah. She had that whole thought about how like Cersei is really the one who's most like Tywin in the end. Yeah. So it's Jamie kind of wants to be, but no, it's not. And Cersei is the one who is. So yeah, that's a good point. So I think to put it back to you all, let's get some suggestions. Who should we talk about next? Who should we sort next? Tyrion?
I think it's an easy one.
I think that's an easy one.
I don't know. I think it might be a 50-50 split.
50-50.
I feel like you could go a couple different ways with Tyrion. So let's start down at the end with Aimee for Tyrion Lannister. Let's sort.
Ravenclaw.
Yep.
I would also say Ravenclaw.
Ravenclaw.
Yeah.
Definitely Ravenclaw.
Yeah, Ravenclaw.
No, he has some Slytherin tendencies, but I think he's primarily a Ravenclaw first and
He
foremost.
drinks and he knows things.
Yep.
Yeah, I was gonna say I actually probably would in the end go Ravenclaw, but I think you could make a decent argument for Slytherin. But in the end, I do think his thirst for knowledge is probably the dominant.
It's definitely cunning, and we've seen ambition for sure.
Yeah, there is.
But his knowledge is, and like his want for it,
Yeah,
his
he loves
thirst
it.
for it. Yeah.
Always desiring more.
Yeah.
I think that's the primary thing. And like ambition is kind of secondary too. Like when he's made Hand of the King, he takes advantage of the position and tries to do the best that he possibly can within the office, but it's not like he's angling that to get more, right? It's not like he's seeking out additional power. Like he tries to undermine Cersei to prevent her from doing crazy stuff, but I don't think it's specifically to benefit himself, which is what a Slytherin would do in that situation.
Like Baelish is a Slytherin,
100%.
stone cold dead,
Yes.
the caricature of a Slytherin.
It doesn't even need
It doesn't even.
Yep.
And so Tyrion,
twirling.
when you compare the two,
Yeah.
he doesn't seem as Slytherin. Yeah.
He gained that knowledge to self-serve.
Yeah.
So that's why I
Right.
lean between the two. Now that you've all said
Well,
I
don't know about that.
Sorry. I do want to point out that Gilderoy Lockhart is a Ravenclaw.
Yeah.
So the fact that you use your knowledge to do horrible things does not place you in Slytherin. It just means that you're more intellectually driven, first and foremost.
That's curious.
If you're studying knowledge for knowledge's sake, then you're a Ravenclaw. If you're studying knowledge to get ahead in the world,
I think that's
Well,
what
I mean-
Lockhart did.
Yeah.
I know we're not analyzing Lockhart. We're talking about Game of Thrones characters, but I do think he's an interesting example of a character who if you'd ask me, I would have said Slytherin, and yet he's in Ravenclaw, and indicating that, look, you can be selfish and conniving and cunning, and you can still be in Ravenclaw.
You know what the thing might be with Gilderoy, and now we're off the tracks. I don't think Gilderoy knows he's doing it. I think Gilderoy, obviously he knows he's manipulating some things, but he's so in this fussed up world of how great he is that he's just like, yeah, I'm wonderful. Everybody, and he is very clever, but I don't think he sees himself as cunning and manipulative as he really is.
The world revolves around Gilderoy, so he would have no reason to ever question it, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
You know what Tyrion is? He's an INTJ. If you're into the Myers-Briggs.
Yep.
Tracy. Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, let's do Sansa next. I like that. Okay, yeah, let's start at the end, because otherwise I'll talk too long.
No, let's start at the other end.
She's like, give me more time. Okay. I have, I kind of go a couple different ways with Sansa. Oh, God, I can... Sansa's always been a really hard one for me to sort, just because I feel like she has changed so much in her development that she's one of the ones I hesitate. In the end, I think she probably might just be a Gryffindor.
I think she's a Hufflepuff.
Yeah, I also think she's a Hufflepuff.
I'm thinking about sorry, go ahead, everybody.
I think she's a Ravenclaw. Simply because... Are we elaborating, or are we just stating?
Why don't we say it first and then...
That's fair. Yeah.
I think she might be a Slytherin.
Ooh, we got everything up here.
I think she might. I think the Starks have a tendency to kind of be the Harry Potter thing, where they can be kind of either Slytherin or Gryffindor, and I think she might be a Slytherin.
I think she probably started out a Hufflepuff, but I'd say no, she's more of a Gryffindor.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's why it's so hard to sort her, because early in her development, she did seem much more of sort of Hufflepuff, and she is certainly super loyal to her family. But I mean, but I can totally understand Slytherin interpretations too, especially as the times go on, and later in the show, she has developed more ambition, and she wants to be Lady of Winterfell, and she embraces that kind of ambition, and she has learned to be so much more cunning by studying with Baelish and things like that. I guess my instinct pulled me back to Gryffindor, just because if she has gone through all of these terrible things, and she keeps somehow surviving and pulling on this sort of courage, and it's just that seems to be the thing that is pushing her through and surviving things that would kill lots of other people. So I just felt like, I don't know, maybe that might be the...
I might change from Hufflepuff to Ravenclaw, actually. I think she's my God, what she has been through. But the Gryffindor kind of here I come to save the day, is not really her, She has that quiet strength, and that can definitely be, that's a Hermione kind of Gryffindor, but I think the information that she just sort of behind the scenes starts gathering in order to protect her family, in order to protect, I don't know. The Hufflepuff thing is home and hearth, though, right? And that's so her to me.
But I think she, even in book and season 1, she's quite dispassionate in how she evaluates a situation. And maybe she doesn't make the right decision, but the truth is, at a young age, she was able to survive King's Landing because she realized the right thing. The thing that I need to do right now is to not fight. I need to say what I'm supposed to say, and I'll call Joffrey my one true love, and I'll write this letter to Robb, and I will say what Littlefinger wants me to say. Because she's smart enough to see through... when Tyrion asks her after Joffrey points the crossbow at her, tell me truly, do you still want this match? And she says, I'm loyal to Joffrey, my one true love. That to me is complete Ravenclaw, because that is... putting all emotion aside and saying, no, I know what I need to do to survive, and it's entirely intellect.
Yeah, it's
and then, of course,
the end of season 7.
The end of season 7, where, again, it's quite dispassionate, and I don't even see it as being particularly vindictive. It is, but it is mostly a straightforward, I see what you're doing, and I'm seeing through all of the emotion of the situation, and I'm making a calculated, quiet decision based on intelligence.
I think the reason that I was leaning towards Slytherin, and maybe it's more of a show Sansa is Slytherin, but I think what's hard about her is that her motivations feel really unclear to me still. But I lean towards Slytherin just because I keep going back to like Battle of the Bastards when she could have easily given John kind of the nudge that like Littlefinger's coming, but she wanted that moment of glory of saving the day, and I think she got a little high off of it. So I think that kind of has come out more as she's gotten a little bit more strength and willpower. So I think I'm gonna stick.
It is hard to balance what we've seen on screen with the books.
I'm starting to lean more towards Ravenclaw now because of what you said. Thank you.
I think she definitely started out more Hufflepuff when she was younger. So I would say that where she's at
sorted.
in the show and kind of where she's advanced along to now, I would say definitely more towards Ravenclaw. But like for me, it's sort of there's a couple things that happen early on in the series that sort of point towards Hufflepuff. So she's very devoted, loyal, unafraid of all the work that Arya does not want to be doing at any time whatsoever. She is fully ready to become a lady. She's, going to go through the whole process. Everything that has been sort of loaded onto her shoulders, she's like, great, let's do it. This is my destiny. This is what I'm here for. Let's go for it. And so with that, a combination of that and her inability to question things, it really takes until Joffrey, goes nuts in King's Landing and Ned dies for her to wake up to kind of the reality of the situation that she's in, right? Before that, there isn't any kind of critical awareness, I guess. And to me, that's what I really associate with Ravenclaw. And you get that, obviously, later on. She very keenly develops it and starts to use that critical awareness to her advantage. But it's distinctly lacking, I think, early on. And so that's sort of what's drawing me more towards Hufflepuff.
But at the same time, I think just because you're a Ravenclaw doesn't mean you can't be wrong. And I think it is remarkable how much she has internalized, because cultural conditioning should not affect one's sorting.
Yeah, that's true.
And the fact that she's able to kind of analyze what archetype she fits into. And Joffrey is going to be her love, and she knows how she has to act and talk to him to achieve that end. Yeah. And she, in the show, I don't think in the book, she has that scene with her mother where she says, no, I want to go to King's Landing. I'll leave Winterfell, that's fine, but that's what I have to do to become queen. And it's very when she meets the fool, she goes, oh, he is the Florian to my Junkiel. And again, she's incorrect, but the fact that this, how old is she at that time? 11 in the books, 13 in the show. Yeah. She's like, yes, I've consumed all of like the literature and the songs of my culture, and I can assess where I fit into this and how I have to react. She's wrong, but she's entirely motivated by or driven by intelligence.
Isn't that though kind of like, I always took like the point of the sorting hat is like, we all progress. Who I was when I was 11 could be being sorted, and if it was a real thing, would, like, I'm not that person I was when I was 11, so doesn't the sorting hat then have some sort of kind of like third eye and can see into the future and kind of see who you'll become? So where you, like, for example, Neville, why was he sorted into Gryffindor? And then he grows up to be this courageous, very amazing person, but like, when he's 11, why the hell is he in?
He was a hat stall. He was begging to be put in Hufflepuff because he didn't want to disappoint, because he didn't think he. And I asked J.K. Rowling once if the sorting hat was ever wrong, and she said no. So yeah.
So it would like kind of predict. So like I'm leaning towards Ravenclaw because she has all these other house qualities, but I think he put her in Ravenclaw because he knew what she would become.
So the question of what they are as we know them is so different than what house would they end up in if they went to Hogwarts at 10 years old. Yeah. It's such a whole, it's a whole nother level.
Yeah, it's potential versus reality, because I think everybody when they're young has the potential to become something. It's like Neville, but actually even Neville at 11, that's when, it's like at the end of the first book and the first movie, whichever you favor, I guess, he's still actually pretty brave at that point, standing up to his friends. That was kind of one of the...
actually, you're right.
Yeah, and so that little German...
The thing with Neville, too, is that it's very clear early on that he highly values bravery, right? Yeah. So that's a huge, huge motivation for him. Even if he's incapable of it at that time, that's something he's always looking to in other people.
I guess that's what's sticking me on sense as a Ravenclaw, though, is if we're talking about your loyalty towards a thing, is her loyalty really towards learning in the same way that... No. Yeah,
it's towards
and that's
power.
why I'm kind of like... She wanted to
I think
be
it's towards
queen,
power, to be honest. Oh my god, is she a Slytherin?
Yeah.
I think her loyalty, a lot of it is towards home. I mean, it
Yes.
really is. Like, she wants her home. She does want that safe family, but
Later on, she wants her home, but in the beginning, she's like, "No, I'm going to King's
That's
Landing. I'm
it.
going to be queen."
See you later.
And
Peace
when it
out.
becomes that's like a dystopian nightmare. No, but like meaning like her historical home, where her home is. And now that she's grown up, and because it is a giant S show over there on King's Landing, she's back at home, and that is a seat of power also. So that could also be contributing. Now I'm confused.
I know, Sansa is complex.
Yes.
My argument for why Sansa is a Slytherin. Everything about her early on, pre-Ned's death, is about herself. She's a very selfish person. Every decision is about how she can become queen, how she can become Joffrey's wife. Afterward, it's all about self-preservation, which is a total Slytherin move. Every decision she makes has been about, how do I survive in this world? Yes, she's learning along the way how that happens, but essentially it's all about protecting herself.
And now that she's back home, she still seems pretty wary of her surroundings and servicing herself.
I can't blame
And
her.
that doesn't make
Oh my
bad.
God.
Yeah.
But I think I like the scene between Arya and Sansa where the men are trying to make her Lady of Winterfell because they're tied with Jon. And the way Sansa explains it is, Arya wants to punish them and potentially cut off their heads, and she's saying that's not how you get people to work together.
Right.
And I don't think it's necessarily, she does enjoy having that power, but at the same time, the decisions that she's making aren't, again, I find them quite dispassionate. She's saying, look, this is the best way to get people to work together. It's not cutting off their heads. It's not sabotaging Jon. It's listening to what people have to say, considering it, and then making a decision afterward.
But in the aim of consolidating power, though.
Yeah.
But
That's
she's
the-
Lady
She
of
knows it's gonna
Winterfell.
be
Like, you can't
best, yeah.
not
But she's
be.
seen-
When you're put in a position of power, you have to deal with power. You can't be like, well, I'm so busy in the library, I can't be attending to the affairs of Winterfell. You got to be
Right.
dealing with the power that you've been given.
Right, but she has seen so many people lose power and gain power at Winterfell. If she's thinking about how to hold on and use her smarts to maintain power, also never forget how much time she spent with Baelish. So, now I'm
Yeah, and
confused.
Cersei before that.
Yeah, and Cersei before that.
Okay, maybe we need to
And then
just
her
take a
father.
public vote on Sansa so we can move on. Okay, yeah.
But I thought when you got sorted, it wasn't necessarily the traits you have, but the traits you value. So if you think of it that way, does that change your opinion?
That's a fan theory. J.K. Rowling's never, so we don't know. It's an interesting idea. I don't know.
Certainly, I think values factor into it, but ultimately, yeah, you have to embody the traits of the house in order to end up there. Right?
I think it's
There
your
has to be-
primary traits.
Yes.
I think it's what you are more defined by than the other ones.
Okay, let's take your comment from you, and then I think we're going to do a public vote on Sansa. Okay.
I'm leaning towards Ravenclaw, but I think it's because she was sort of raised by Slytherins to an extent in most of her formative years.
Okay.
That she feels very Slytherin-y because of, I'm with Petra with a sort of step back and look at how to organize everything is very much more intellect, not necessarily seeking of knowledge, but it's knowledge and intellect that sit right next to each other in Ravenclaw. So hers is just leans a little bit more on the side of the intellect, and so she's drawn to these really intelligent people making intelligent decisions, or seeming to her at the time making intelligent decisions, because obviously Cersei doesn't know what she's doing, but she seems like from Sansa that she might know what she's doing. So that I feel similarly.
But Ned.
But she just feels more Slytherin as you go on, because she's learning from people that come from a more cunning power is the most important.
I just want to say, too, that it would be a lot easier to place her in Slytherin if she hadn't been in a survival situation since King's
Right.
Landing, right? It's very
Right.
easy to be motivated by selfish desires, I guess, when you're just purely focused on
That's
survival,
what's
right?
so fun about sorting characters in Game of Thrones, because it's not that they're going to school, it's that they're all in life or death situations. So you get to see them really put to the test, you know?
She is towards protection of herself.
Yeah. Okay. Let's do a vote because we'll never agree amongst ourselves. Okay. If you think Sansa is Gryffindor, raise your hand. Still gonna go with that. Okay. There's like two of us. Okay. Okay. If you think she is Slytherin, raise your hands. Ooh.
Okay.
I changed my mind. Oh, she changed her mind. Okay.
All right.
Okay, that's a lot. Okay. If you think she is Ravenclaw, raise your hands. Oh, there's still more Slytherin.
I think Slytherin wins.
Yeah,
Okay,
Slytherin
and
wins.
if you think she's Hufflepuff, raise your hands. All right, you and the two dudes in back who are high-fiving each other like proper bros. Okay.
Ned's a Hufflepuff, correct? Ned's a Hufflepuff. We're all there.
Yeah, he's a Hufflepuff.
Fairness, loyalty, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
So she was
Duty
raised by a
before anything
Hufflepuff.
else.
She was.
Sort of.
Okay, so the Slytherins have it?
But Catelyn. Yes, that's another.
Catelyn's the more.
She's got a nice dose
Right.
of Slytherin.
What about the Greyjoys? Yara and Theon. Because Yara's kind of.
Okay, well, yeah, let's take them one at a time. Petra's like, ooh, Greyjoys. Let's talk about that. Yeah, let's do one. Let's talk about Theon. How about?
I'm sorry.
Are you big on the Greyjoys?
Oh, I got my Greyjoy pendant right here.
Excellent.
Where is it?
Okay, I'm excited.
Oh, she'll cry if you talk about it. Okay, let's talk about Theon, because people got a lot of opinions, and he's gone through a lot of transformations, so sometimes it's like dealing with two different characters when it comes to Theon. Yeah, right? See, that's it. But he's one person, so it's just different names.
Whole Theon.
He's one
He's
dude.
back to being Theon.
Riku is a dissociative state for
Yeah.
survival.
But it's one guy, because
But it's the same person. He
Sure.
just goes into a survival mode.
Yes. Theon Enrique is one person. I can tell you this. I work in a psychiatric inpatient facility. It's when people are in dissociative states, the same person. It's one person. So it's not two separate characters. So yes.
What do you
that's
think?
So Theon, oh my God, he's another one because he is so complex. I can say he is not Ravenclaw. he even though he has done some brave things, he is not Gryffindor. And then that's when I start to stumble because I mean, I have been leaning, I've thought about this before, and I have leaned towards Hufflepuff for him. That's probably where I'm going to fall.
Hufflepuff is also a catch-all on purpose, not in a bad way. They do catch whoever doesn't quite, you know.
Right.
The rest.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm probably going to go with Hufflepuff for him, but I mean, I have hesitated a little. I could probably be persuaded, but I mean, that's where, when I've thought about before, I've gone with Hufflepuff for him because.
I'm kind of leaning Hufflepuff. I think he's a Gryffindor in Arrested Development. I think he's a Gryffindor who's been so badly traumatized. He has such potential for Gryffindor that it's there, but it's so deep. And I think in the end, it might come out for a bit, but if you had to, like, actually sort him, I think I might pick Hufflepuff, too.
Yeah, I think he's Gryffindor as well. I mean, there's.
No, I think he's Hufflepuff. I think there's Gryffindor in him someplace.
I think he's totally Gryffindor. He's a twisted Gryffindor in that he's not like your platonic ideal of what a Gryffindor is supposed to be, but I think that's a lot of what he values. That's really what he's striving towards, and then it's just, you know, a lot of his very poor decisions have kind of led him in different directions.
I'd say Slytherin.
Really?
Yeah, because fundamentally what he is about is, you know, cunning. He can be cunning and ambition in the sense of whatever he is motivated towards, he will do whatever it takes to achieve what he wants. Whether that's creating a distraction in Torrance Square to take over Winterfell, whether that's calling a certain person master for a few years to survive, whether that's getting the mess beaten out of him
Sorry, the kids
to
left.
save his sister.
Yeah, we're good.
Oh, okay, the shit beaten out of him to save his sister. It's ambition, but in a way that I don't think most people would define ambition.
Okay.
Well, I don't want to disagree with Petra on anything related to Theon.
I'm Hufflepuff, I'm safe.
Yeah, no, but I actually am not going to really disagree with you. I think that I agree that he has Gryffindor tendencies and they're buried, but I think the flip of that is Slytherin, and I do think he's got kind of a Sansa thing, and there's a reason that I know we're saying that they're in survival situations, but like they're surviving based on their own sort of moral code and their own, you know, self-service. So I think Slytherin.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think Slytherin. Yeah.
I changed my mind again.
Ooh. Oh, what do you think?
I think he's Peter Pettigrew, Gryffindor.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
Yes.
He's kind of Slytherin, but more Gryffindor than
His main
Yep.
drives are like for acceptance of a friend group. So it's not like a cunningness to power. He just wants to be a Stark because that's what he grew up with,
Yep.
and that's what he's.
It's a quest for belonging.
Yeah, that's good.
Yeah.
That's good.
Peter
Yeah.
has, you know, he goes down a dark path because he suffers a lot along the way and makes bad decisions, but he's still sorted into Gryffindor.
Do you think it's like Peter, where he was sorted into Gryffindor and he really shouldn't have been, and
He's trying to live up to that.
he's trying to live up to it.
Not quite, but he wants to, but he's making
And I mean, we don't know what the sorting hat really takes into account, too, right? I mean, Peter is a scumbag for his entire life, but in the end, before he dies, he still does manage to do that one noble thing that turns the course.
He hesitated for a moment. I don't think he gets the Brave Award.
Listen,
I disagree.
we would all hesitate in that situation.
I understand why there are Peter Pettigrew, Theon Greyjoy parallels, but the fundamental motivation with Peter was fear. He says to Sirius Black, "What else was I supposed to do? He would have killed me." And Sirius says, "Well, you should have died." And I don't think that is really Theon's problem. For all of his problems,
he's definitely a survivor.
Well, he's definitely a survivor, but not to the degree that he doesn't betray the Starks because he's scared of the consequences. He betrays the Starks because that is a means to an end.
Belonging to the Greyjoy.
No, to having power and
Right.
and being able to show that power for his own. Yeah, I'm with you on this. I think.
I think so, though, because
can I just say, in terms of, for me, I think his ambition is to belong. His ambition is not for power, it's to belong, but that is an ambition for him. Maybe, and I kind of grate against this idea that cultural conditioning and social circumstances determines your house, but at the same time, for Theon to belong to somewhere, to someone or someplace, he has to be ambitious because he was not given a home. For him, he has to be ambitious to get a home. So he's doing all of his cunning and pulling all the stops out to achieve his ambition of having a place where he belongs.
Okay.
Any thoughts? Are we having final thoughts?
I agree.
Well, we got. Okay, I guess we'll do a vote on Theon because we're a little bit split.
What do you think?
I feel like I might change my vote to Slytherin. Me too. We're changing our votes to Slytherin. Okay. Slytherin.
Yeah. I'm going to just believe Petra on this one. It's
All right, audience thoughts? What do you think? Slytherin? All right, we going with Slytherin?
He's a Pettigrew Gryffindor.
Pettigrew Gryffindor.
Theon.
I can understand that, yeah.
Going to be loyal to the biggest bullies.
To the Starks he is. To the Starks he's a Pettigrew Gryffindor. He's a Pettigrew Stark.
And when the Starks ditch him, he sees his father as the biggest bully on the block, and he's like, I'm going to pal with him now. Because he's going to protect me.
Not for the same reasons, though. Like, Peter's relationship to Voldemort is not, on a superficial level, it's comparable because he betrays someone for somebody else, but his motivation with is different than Theon's motivation to Balon or Yara.
Okay, we have just about 5 more minutes, so let's do one more person. Let's do Arya, because we've heard that several times. So we'll do Arya, and she might probably not quite as hard to sort, I think, maybe.
She's a Gryffindor.
Yeah, I think. I was gonna say I'm gonna
close.
I'm gonna say Gryffindor, but I think she has like a good I'm guessing the Sorting Hat was like maybe okay Gryffindor, but she has like a good dose of Slytherin.
Smart Gryffindors have high Slytherin quotients.
Yeah.
Because, if you gotta have some cunning to execute your, but I think she's like so brave.
Balls to the wall.
Courage.
I mean,
Yeah.
her first instinct is to just kick ass and grab the sword, even though she is very cunning. But I just think her dominant is the Gryffindor aspects.
Yeah, I completely agree that Gryffindor is dominant. I think there definitely are Slytherin qualities to her as well that you can sort of see, but it's always that brashness, everything that comes first in her character is Gryffindor, and I think a lot of the Slytherin stuff that you kind of can equate with her character is more due to her situation and kind of what she's pursuing rather than who she is as a person.
Also, she says and does kind of stupid stuff sometimes that's not in her interest that betray her her feeling about what's right. So she's not sitting there and calculating it. Think about when she was younger, a lot of that stuff happened. Now she's obviously way more refined in her motivations and how she expresses them, but that's after so much training.
I'm torn between Gryffindor and Hufflepuff. Oh. Simply because, her behavior is very Gryffindor-like, but she's not ambitious insofar as she has a goal, but it's not to, I feel like her ambition is to avenge her family. And it's not, even at her darkest, she has no interest in power, and I feel like her goal is to avenge her family, which oddly it doesn't feel very ambitious to me. It feels very, very it feels very loyal. Like her loyalty to her family, whether that's Gendry, you could be my family, or to her biological family, that seems to be what drives her. And I feel like her desire to fight and her kind of spunkiness and all of that, those are definitely a major part of her, but I don't feel like that speaks to her fundamental, like what drives her. That is her loyalty to her family.
Isn't her loyalty to her family is a big part of it, but I feel like another really big part of what her journey has been surviving as a young girl in this crazy world and doing whatever she has to do to make sure that she is only dependent upon herself. And I feel like that's also a very Gryffindor, because she could be loyal to her family so many ways, but she goes out on this journey and figures out how to become a force, a fighting army, you know, all on her own.
That's true. Yeah.
But was she loyal to her family before all of this happened? Like she was loyal to John, but like she couldn't care less about Sansa when she was little.
But I feel
it's in season 7 where she can choose to go kill Cersei, or she chooses to go back to John.
Yeah, but I
kind of is. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I also think it's different when you're a child and you're living with your family. Like you can be a Hufflepuff and be loyal to your family and still want to go away to summer camp. Like it's different. It's different when you I wish I was away from my family off on a grand adventure when you're snug and warm at home. It's different when you actually are put in a situation to decide where to go. Although she does go to Bravos.
Yeah.
She does a lot of brave
She's
stuff.
never afraid to go against the grain, right? It doesn't matter what, cultural notions there are, whatever society's telling her that she's supposed to be or she has to do, she does not give a fuck. She is doing whatever she wants to do, whatever she thinks is the best path for her going forwards towards achieving her goals. That's what she's doing.
Yeah, that's exactly why. She thought she really thought she didn't have a choice.
Oh, that's true, isn't it? Yeah.
Well,
If she went to King's Landing, she was dead. If she went to the wall, she'll most likely die on her way.
Yeah, because she went there because they thought Liza was. Because Liza was dead, and at that point, that was like her last choice, and she was like,
well, screw
coin,
it.
okay, and that was it. So
And
that's.
while she was there, she put in the work to become a faceless man. She even against all odds. Like I don't know how many people would survive getting like crap kicked out of them.
Yeah, and I think if she was Slytherin, she probably would have done better at the whole faceless man thing.
Yeah.
Yes. But yeah, instead she's like,
She couldn't give it
They
up,
haven't
right?
sorted yet. They haven't got to put her in a house.
Oh,
yet.
so sorry.
Sorry.
It's totally okay, because I don't really know. I think I would have to go with Gryffindor, but I do like the argument. I was trying to think of her like outside of the circumstances of everything, and I feel like in that scenario, obviously, it's not the scenario, but if that was a scenario, I could see her as a Hufflepuff, but I think she's a Gryffindor. She's got that fire, that like Gryffindor fire.
yeah. Okay, and we'll wrap it up with Aimee.
She's a Gryffindor. She's a Gryffindor. I don't know what y'all talking about, but she's a Gryffindor.
Okay, yeah, we're probably going to finish right there then. Do we have any final thoughts here as we finish up the panel?
This is fun, and I want to do it more.
I know, we got another hour.
Yeah. I know.
Seriously.
I could.
You can totally tweet this stuff at us. Like I'll do it. Like I think any of us.
All day long.
Yeah, tweet me, Sue the Fury, literally.
Legit doing it for 17 years now, so please, no end in sight.
We will do it anytime. So this is what we do for fun, and it never gets old. So thank you all very much for coming, and have a fantastic weekend. We love you.